So hello everyone, in this video I'll be talking about how you can send the data into the Node.js or how you can post a request. So how you can make the post request in the Node.js and how do we handle the data. So we'll be learning that about in this video. So for that I think I should create a form or input field first of all. So I'll be creating a simple form here. So let me just create a simple form. Inside this body here I can create input type text, and after that I can give the name. This name is very important because that will be grabbing the information in this field by this name, so it will be grabbing that. So I can name it username or anything. I can write that, and after that I can create a submit button. That will be good. So I can write button type submit. So I can write button type submit, and inside that I can write register or send anything. So this should create one form which is having this button, and also I have one action field. I can write action attribute. By action attribute I can send the data on which path I want to send. So for example I want to send the data to the register path, so that will be there. And also I can specify the method because it will only be a post method, so we'll be writing the method post here inside the form. So these are the attributes I have written down. Now I don't need this login, so I'll be not doing this, and also I can return that because I don't want the extra code which I will be writing down for the res.write, or if I write any other extra if condition for different routes, so that should come out from the page. So I told you that after the res.end you cannot write this res.write again, otherwise it will give you the error. So that's why I'm doing that. So if I register another route for accessing or for different routing, so that will not give me error if I put return here. So that will get outside of this function which is create server, or this arrow function in create server. So that will go outside of this function due to this return. So let me save it and let's see if the form is there or this input type is there. Let me just restart that mod server.js. So if I do that, so you can see that here I can have this input field with the button send, and now I can directly register this route which is register itself. So I can grab, first of all I'll be grabbing the route or the URL. So I'll be checking that whether the request is made to this register route or not, and also I'll be more specific that I'll check method is post or not. Method I haven't grabbed, so I'll be grabbing that. So I can grab the method directly from the request, but I will be saving it into a method which is request method. So I'll be saving this request.method into this variable which is method itself. So I'll be checking whether the method is post or not. So method is simply your get or post, or simply whatever the method we have sent from the data, or the incoming request is coming for which method. So I'll access method post. So the data we are sending in here in the register route is sending the data as post request, so we are checking that method here. So it will only go inside this route or this if condition if the method is post and the route is this one register. So we'll be grabbing that. So for grabbing this input field data, we don't have actually any other extra method, but we have to create one listener for that. So the data we send into the Node.js comes into the chunks. Chunks are the, you can consider chunks as the divided data of your, like whatever the data is sent to the Node.js, it will not come at once. So it will come with the pieces of data or divided into some parts, you can say. So that parts are called, or that divided data is called chunk. One that is because Node.js is non-blocking, so it doesn't block the code and doesn't wait for one code to execute. It just registers that function or the code that it should be happening, and then after that it executes other tasks. So that's why it is faster. So it will not wait for all the chunks to come. It will just grab the chunks one by one. So the file system or any other thing on which the chunks are required or the data is required, so it will be using that. Normally for sending this type of data or the simple data, we don't use streams or chunks of data, but for the large data like files are sent into chunks, these kind of things are used for the streams. So streaming is that when you send the data into the chunks, and there is a concept of buffer, which is the place of where all the chunks are stopping, where all the chunks are collected. That is the buffer. So for collecting that data which we are sending into this input field, we'll be creating one listener that will check whether the data is coming or not into the request. So we'll be writing request.on, and inside that we'll be writing just data. So it will check whether the data is coming or not. After that we can add a callback function, and inside that I can write chunk. Chunk is the piece of data which will come in this arrow function. So it will execute the function until all the chunks are uh, recovered or all the chunks are accepted in this. So it will constantly running this function for all the chunks which are there. So for every pieces of data which we are sending into the chunks, so that will come into this function. So for storing all the chunk data, we can create a variable or an array. Inside that we can push all the chunks to collect all the pieces of data, and I can just simply push that. If you want to log out that, you can also log that out. So that will be logged. So chunk I have logged out, and after that I have to create one more listener, which is request.on end, because that will check whether the data is arrived completely or not. So this will be only executed when all the chunks are received, and after that I can create one function. Inside that I can grab all the chunks and convert it into what's text data or the string data. So I'll be storing that into a variable called pass body or simply body. So I can write it, and there is a global object we can use for converting the chunks into the string or into any type, which is called buffer. Buffer object has one method which is called concat. So we'll be concatenating all the chunks which are into this data array into one. So we'll be combining that. So this is kind of stop where all the chunks are received, all the chunks are collected. So we are just combining that by using buffer.concat. After that I can convert the data to JSON or to string or anything I want. This depends on the data type which is coming. So right now I know that the data is coming as a string or the text, so that's why I'm storing that into I'm converting that into a string. So I can also console log this body, and that will be logged out. And after that I can create anything, like I can save this data to a file or anything, but for now just we'll be deleting this file. So I was testing out the code earlier, so let me just delete this file first. So we'll be creating automatically and storing this file, and after that the data which is received into after converting that into a string, that will be stored in the file. So for that, for creating a file or managing file system, we use FS module. FS is a global module or the core module which is available in Node.js. So by using this, we can manipulate with the files and work with the files. We can create files and delete files by using this fs module. So I can name it anything, this variable, this constant variable, but this should be same, fs file system. And after that, I can save the data or write the data inside that. So let me first check how. Let me just create the sample file for that. For example, for creating a sample file, I can use this function write file same. There is one more function which is write file, which is the synchronous, and this is the synchronous function, so we'll be using this one. So for now, we'll be just writing register.txt file, which will be the name of the file in which the data will be stored. So I can create .txt file, and after that I can store any data. I'll be storing this body, but first let me just console log this and show you what is the data we have converted. So after that, I can simply in the file, whatever the content I want to write, after that I can provide that. So for example, I want to write a sample, for example, and that will be executed, and after that I can just put res.end here. So just I'm saving that and I'm restarting the server again, and I'm going to that route and refreshing that. So if I write anything, for example CodersArts, and if I send that to the register route, and if I see that, so you can see the first console log was here into the chunks, which was encoded into buffer, so that we can't understand now. But after that, we converted that chunk into a string. So after that, it is logged out here. Then we are using that in this username equals CodersArts. Now I can access this CodersArts directly by using that split method, so which you already know, you have probably studied that about inside the JavaScript. So I can use body.split. So what this will do is it will divide the things into two parts. One will be having, or into an array, the first item into the array will be the username, and the second item into the array will be this CodersArts. I will be accessing the second item, so I can grab them by the index 1, because the second item has the index 1 in an array. So that will be stored into this register.txt. If I save this file again, and you can see the previous register.txt is containing this sample file, so I can delete that also by doing this delete, and we can move them to recycle bin. Now I can restart the server, and now if I do the process again, you will see the difference. If I send the data, now if I go into register.txt, you can see the data is there, CodersArts, whatever we typed into the this array or this input field. So I can write anything. For example, I can write admin. Let me just send that. So you can see that the content is changing inside the file. So admin is there now. So this is how we make the post request in Node.js. By this, you will be seeing that Node.js is very hard to implement, and we are doing a lot of things, but it is very hard in starting. After that, we'll learn about Express.js, which will make all the things very easier. So for that, we need to understand how complex Node.js is and how Express.js is solving that complexity for us. So we'll be learning more about Node.js in the future videos. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in another video.